Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Z James. This is Z32 Workshop, and this beside me is my beautiful, lovely 1993 Nissan 300ZX convertible autocross car, weekend car, fun car. Last videos stream. This is going to be the update, the completion, the wrap-up, if one will, with the suspension upgrades for the 2021 year at the moment. So let's go back to the rundown. Basically, I put new rear suspension components on from SPC because I wanted ball joints, rubberized ones, not metal hemispherical ones. Yes, they would have been cheaper. Hopefully these work. I've been told in a couple forums like, hey, watch those bushings, which I will. This isn't a daily car. This car sits pretty much except for the weekends, and then gets raced on the weekends and has fun. And then I also put Koni shocks on, new springs, new rubber gaskets, new everything for the shocks, springs, everything. Eibach springs, Pro Lowering, and everything. Well, here, the idea is what we wanted to do is lower the car down. And with the Eibach springs, they're supposed to give me a 3/4 inch drop all the way around. The springs were the TT model ones. I hopefully will have them below on what they were. I found them used, well, new, in box, or box was pretty messed up, but they were still, looked new to me, didn't look at their springs, so it's kind of hard. Didn't see any wear on them, looked great. From one of the other guys on the internet, and surprisingly, they came all the way from Hawaii. So it is weird, and the internet's an amazing place. And if you see something on Facebook and you start asking people about something, and someone says, hey, I think I got a set, and next thing you know you do, and next thing you know I got them delivered to my door. So yeah, I mean, parts came from everywhere for this vehicle, sitting behind me here. So let me run this down for you. I'm gonna grab my board here, because it's my cheat sheet in the shop of what's going on. Basically, when I did the car to start with, you know, I had, let's see if you guys can see this. Don't mind this. In the front, I measured 26 3/8 and then 26 1/4. So the fronts were pretty well even. Hopefully you guys can see that. And then the rear was 26 3/8, which actually is pretty flat. And then, but back here, this cross drop and 3/4. There's quite a bit. You know, there's quite a bit change there. That was the old. The new, after I measured, dropped. I went to 25 1/2 and 25 3/4. I don't know why there is a 1/4 inch difference there. It could be a difference within the metal of the car, the fenders. But here's the interesting, the rears actually went, this side went up, and then the passengers went down. It's 26 1/2 and 26 3/8, which tells me flat out that the springs that I had from the factory were worn. The car was sagging, which means they're not operating best as the way it goes. I was expecting a drop, and actually to see it come up a smidge is actually insane in my mind, but the other side came down, so I more or less got it level. The way the car sits, because the spring rates, it's a progressive spring from Eibach, which means it's not a linear, so it's not, when you compress the spring down, you do not get that, you know, for a 300 inch pound. For every 300 pounds, it drops an inch. Progressive means a little different. If I would have known somebody, I would have loved to take these springs in and actually had them, I won't say dynoed, but on a machine that compresses them down for the weight and the travel to get an idea what how they operate. But, you know, between the Koni Yellow Sports, which are really good, and the springs, which I got, and it rides amazing, ish. To me, it's better because it's the shocks in the rear were kind of messed up. The fronts weren't that great. You gotta remember, it's a 93. This is 2021. You guys can do the math on how old that stuff is. So let's go look at the car. Right now, I've got my GTR wheels in the car because my RE71s for racing are pretty messed up, are wore out. So you can see this drop down looks really good. Rear still, I wish I could get it down more, but I am not gonna go coilover yet, because honestly, I'm gonna do coilovers. I'm gonna do something much, much better than what I've got on, or I might do a ground control sleeve and then do adjustable spring rate to get everything adjustable ability in there. So it looks good all the way around. Handling wise, it's pretty dash darn good. Bumps are no different than what I had before. I have the Konis set right now at, how should I say this? They're on their softest settings. And you saw it with the videos, the whole process of me doing this, which if I remember count right was like, oh gosh, 9, 10 videos into this thing, maybe even more. I gotta sit there and think about it. The rears were a real pain, but there was a lot going on there. The fronts were actually much easier, other than my sway bar, which I still need to fix and get that problem remedied. The sway bar doesn't want to pivot as well on it for the suspension, which means I literally could disconnect both sway bars and the sway bar wouldn't move. There's a bind in it, and what I've seen and found out reading through everybody, I've got too much clamping force on the bushings, which you can see when you actually tighten it down the torque spec, it does not fit right. The answer to that as a racer is to shim it. I haven't done that yet. I really should. Just life's been busy. Haven't been able to get in there and take the bolts out, put some washers in, and start spacing it off so I can get that tension off. Probably won't take too much. 1, 2 washers, I'm guessing, at best. So I need 4 to pull that sway bar down just ever so slightly to get it so it's not so much clamping force around it. There is a very expensive fix for this by Polar Engineering. I'll throw their information down. He just made another set. He is a gentleman that's on the Facebook groups right now making the very lovely, very beautiful fuel hangers, which I won't get. I won't need them. I think they look gorgeous. And if I needed one, I might think about it, but they're pretty pricey, but it's very quality work. And anyone who does small batch stuff for manufacturing must realize that stuff is expensive. So his solution for the sway bar is a nice clamshell, but it's all machined aluminum. And he wants $240 for a set. I can't afford that, not for what my project's gonna be, so I'm gonna do the racer solution, just shim it out. But his stuff looks amazing. I highly recommend his stuff. I haven't used it yet, but it really does look good. And he just made it another batch. He does small batch orders. I think he's just a guy just like me in a garage shop somewhere and does the engineering on it and gets to design. So, but back to the car for the project at hand. Everything turned out well. Everything's operating properly. I haven't just played any adjustments with anything because the fronts are very easy to go from soft to hard. The rears require removal of the entire shock, disassembly to compress it. I'm not good enough a racer to do that yet, to know what I would need to set it to help do that, to make stiffen it up. So right now, everything's the softest setting, and it feels pretty good. The spring rides are really nice. That being said, you hit a bump, you feel it. I mean, there's no way around it, but you did that anyway. As the car is floppy, as a convertible a little bit, is not as stiff as a T-top car, nor as stiff as the ever-elusive slick-top car, which I am not actively looking for, but passively keeping an eye out for one. I would love to pick one up, even if it's a shell, because I know enough now, and as long as I know where to get stuff, I can put one of those together and have a good time. So yeah, that's been my process with this whole thing. I hope you guys have found it. I wanted to show you the results for that the ride height drop and how it was handling, and it's been really well. A few of the guys that I race with in autocross have driven it in service. They said the car handles much better than what they were used to. But it was my car, so I was used to the weird tendencies of it, because the rear end would always want to, how should I say this, do its own thing. And that's not what I was shooting for. It was kind of weird. It's spooky. It'd kick out when in the wrong spot. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys, and I'll put this below too. Let me get this dug out because I just wrote it down. I got an Excel sheet in the house with all this stuff on because I'm a nerd. I'm a car nerd on top of that. So basically, gosh darn it, where'd it go? Oh, right here. I wanted to give you guys an idea for what I've changed to. Because part of the reason I went with a bunch of this stuff is I wanted to get the suspension. Since I autocross, and I wanted the car to handle very well and do this, I decided to get the fronts. The best I could get for fronts for the suspension is I could get -2.5 degrees camber up front. And then my caster is sitting at 7.5, which if you're a normal car guy, you think that's amazing. For the Z32, I think that's still within spec. We have a lot of caster in our cars, which a lot of people will just fall over. And it's crazy, but caster, camber, tires, top of the tire end, that's toe or camber and camber out's this way. And then caster is, how should I put it? Like, this is the wheel. See, this is the wheel right here. Caster is the angle which this thing, the steering, changes at. Instead of being straight up and down like this, well, here, let's do it this way, is like this. Caster is this angle. So when you churn, you do this. And what caster helps for is centering the tires when you're going down a highway. I've had this car set up with 9.5 degrees of caster. So when you let go of the steering wheel, the car just snaps straight. That's the way the weight of the car rotating down. Let's see here. In the rear, I decided to go with 2 degrees negative camber, trying to get as much as I can for grip around the corners. Toe has been up front, set up the factory. It's toe in. Rear is toe in by a smidge. So it's toe in this way and toe in this way, which helps for stability. From what I've been told, and the guys who actually know much more about this stuff than I do, helps with stability for the car going around the autocross. Let's see here. Anything else I could think of right now that you guys need to know? And there are guys that do run, and I'm not joking to you, toe out. I just realized this and got told, I have a buddy of mine who's got a mod car in SSEA. He actually runs toe out, up front, toe in the rear, and it helps the car rotate. I haven't driven that car yet because I need a closed face mask because there's no windshield on it. Anyway, that's sort of the suspension setup that I'm running right now on everything. And that was part of the reason, because I didn't have any adjustability in the rear other than what the factory has. And the factory does get you 1 degrees negative rear camber, which if you're on a street, it's perfectly acceptable. Autocross, I wanted a smidge more. And to be honest with you, if I get my tires set up right and do anything, I'm going to try for that 3 degrees negative camber up front, and I might go 2.5 in the rear. It's not because I'm looking for that stance. I am literally looking for grip coming around stuff because I destroy my outside fronts all the time. At an event this last weekend, it chewed them up royally. Really hot. Tried not walking the tire over. I mean, put tire pressures up way high to make it so it didn't happen, and was still doing it. I might even drop I don't have too many videos. I might drop a video of that event down in at the end here, and I got a great picture of a 1993 FD sitting next to my car, and we were racing at the same time. And side note, graciously, I did beat the FD. I think that comes down more to the driver than it does anything else. His car is much more powerful, and we actually had the same with tires. I run 225, 35 R18s. He had the exact setup, but I think he might have had a grippier tire. Mine are Indy Firehawks 500s, Firestones. They're okay. They're a good street tire. Mine are about chewed up life. The outside shoulder's pretty much destroyed on them. Where it's at. That's it, I guess. This is getting to be a long video. I didn't expect this to be as long, but I wanted to tell everyone what we had for the car, how it turned out, and how the experience has been. So like I said, this is just a nice, beautiful recap at the end to show everyone what I got for suspension setups and how much drop you can expect. I was really shocked when I got done to see that the simple fact that my front did drop, but my rear actually didn't, because the rear springs were so worn in the rear end, which is surprising. The fronts were fine, but the rears were really worse. The car was already sagging in the rear end, so it wasn't doing well because of it. And that may have contributed to part of the problem I was having when I was driving it, when the car just didn't feel settled quite right. And a side story note, when you set your suspension yourself and try to take it to the alignment shop, if you have toe out in the rear, I'm gonna play this out. Literally, the butt end of the car was doing this driving to the alignment shop because it was doing its own thing and the suspension was way out of whack. I wouldn't say frightening to drive, but you realize, like, oh, you don't want to drive fast if you get that suspension set, because it was doing its own thing. And the guys at the alignment shop did a great job for me. I wish I could do it myself, but I don't have their machines, and I just don't have the space nor the time to do it myself sometimes. So that's why I pay for it. Well, anyway, once again, my name is E. James. This is the 832 Workshop. And coming up will be next project will be working on a car, which I'm not sure yet, but hopefully I'll show you later how that works. Anyway, take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.